there, I'm JB Portello. Welcome to In the Know. This program is to help you be aware and informed of projects and events going on in our area. Each month, we're going to post the program on the POA's Facebook page and make it available on community television. Want to be in the know? Then stay tuned. Hey, good morning, Bella Vista. It's time for another session of In the Know. This is JB Portello, and my guest today is Tom Judson, the COO. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning.
This is kind of a muggy, funky day, but it's a good one for sure.
It's hot out there, that's for sure.
That's right. Hey, let's talk about the board meeting. I was really excited to see how everything was staged out for COVID and all that. Can you kind of explain how that's working now, since it's the first time we did that?
Yeah, so what we did was the board table is rather large, but when you add the 6 foot, have to have 6 feet separation from everybody for social distancing, it makes it challenging. So we actually added tables onto the end of the board table, and we were able to stretch it out, and we were able to have all the board members located at the same table, but with the 6 foot separation. And what we did was we set up the welcome center as a viewing area for any residents that wanted to come, and we got a couple that came in, and then we let them in one at a time if they wanted to ask a question or make a comment. And so between and then everybody had a mask on. So yeah. We were trying to be follow the guidance of the Arkansas Department of Health, but also allow people to come in and make their comments and have the board meeting function in a semi-normal way.
Yes.
And we think that this is how we're going to do it from here on out, at least until we're beyond the COVID situation.
Gotcha. Well, there were a lot of things discussed at the board meeting and decided upon. Can you talk a little bit about the results of the voting on some of those policies that were changed?
Well, let me start with the financials. So,
yes.
In spite of everything that's going on, we're really doing well. Now, our revenue is down in certain areas where you would expect to, golf, food and beverage, and so forth. And those are all COVID related. But the team has done a fantastic job in reducing expenses. And so and then on the water side is doing really well with so many people at home. You get more water consumption when you have so many people at home and working from home. So the water department's doing well. So both the POA and the water department combined year to date were better than budget by $1 million. That's the good news. The bad news is that since we have cut back so much on expenses because we knew that our revenue would be negatively impacted, we're cutting back on things that you don't necessarily want to come back on. For example, repairs and maintenance of repairs. And those are the things that it's pay me now or pay me more later. Mm-hmm. So the good news is that the team has reacted very well and they've made significant cutbacks. The bad news is the team has made significant cutbacks, and it's a double-edged sword. But on some other good news, we've seen a huge success in the amount of activity cards that we are selling. So this compares to the prior year, where at that time they were called photo IDs, but we are up 30% over prior year.
Excellent.
Huge increase. And guest passes that we've issued are up 17%. Boat permits are up 12%. So that we're seeing a lot of lake activity. And I think what's happening is you see a lot of people, because of COVID, they're going out on their boat. They're going kayaking. I tried to get a bike for my daughter, and it was near impossible to find a bike. I've heard that it's near impossible to get a kayak because everybody's buying those types of things where you can get out in nature and you're alone and you're away from other people. So the lake activity is definitely up, but we were very excited. Going back to the activity cards, very excited if you'd asked me beforehand when I was giving speeches about the 2020 plan, how much of an increase we would have seen, I think I was guessing maybe 10%, but 30% is outstanding. So we're very pleased with that.
Excellent.
Now, to go to your question, we did have the board did have a number of votes. They elected officers. Now, officers are required by state law and by our governing documents. So I serve as the president of the corporation. Doug McCash is the vice president. Dwayne Mitchell is the treasurer. Tammy Lloyd is the corporate secretary. Now, I don't go by that title. I do sign contracts by the title of president, but I don't. That's not the title that I go by. I'm the chief operating officer, or they call me general manager, whatever you want to refer to me as to. But it is required, and so we took care of that.
Well, it's pretty standard procedure that those individuals would be in those positions, correct?
Absolutely, and we do this every year.
Yes.
And also, we talked about the open seat that the board is going to be filling. So depending upon when this episode gets released, the deadline may have already passed because the deadline's today, close of business. Hopefully a lot of people have turned in applications. I have not asked Tammy how we're doing. I assume we received a few of them. And then next week on the 7th, the board will conduct interviews and then potentially make a decision to fill that open board seat. And that individual will serve all the way until the end of May of 21. And then if they want to continue to serve, they would have to get voted in.
Okay.
And then we had several committee nominations that were confirmed by the board. So the committees, like the recreation, the golf, the lakes committee, they'll make a recommendation that comes up to the board, and the board has to confirm those. So there were several of those. And there was a couple of changes to bylaws and policies, so I encourage you to either review the entire meeting or go to and see what the presentation looked like. You can get quite a bit of information. But the Rules and Regulations Committee has been working on these changes for several months, and now they've been approved.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. Well, let's talk a little bit. I know we talk most every time now, but let's talk about the status of the amenities for COVID and what's the latest and greatest.
Well, we continue to monitor what the governor is saying, and we follow the directives that are put out by the Arkansas Department of Health. The directives that are coming out, I'm looking at them right on my desk, and they can get thicker and thicker and thicker because we track them on a regular basis. And we do our absolute best to remain in compliance with them at all times. I get contacted regularly from calls and emails, and people will have opinions that we should be more restrictive or less restrictive. And it's about an equal number on both sides of that. And we follow the directives put out by the state.
Gotcha.
That's what we do. If the state tells us to do this, that's what to the best of our ability, that's what we do. And so, the restaurants are doing fairly well. We're now up to about 75% of normal. And I've had a lot of people tell me that they're coming to the restaurants because they feel comfortable coming to the restaurants because we require masks, we're in compliance, we have limited the number of people that can come in per what the state is telling us. So since we are following the guidelines, they're feeling comfortable in coming out. And so that's good. That's good. We want to continue to keep the restaurants active and keep our servers busy and employed and so forth. So things are going well.
Excellent. I noticed that you're trying maybe to move some of the fitness classes outside now. Is that right?
Joan and her team have had a huge success with offering classes, live streaming them. They continue to do that, and there's many classes that are live streamed that are being viewed, getting 1,000 views, which is amazing. But we do know that people want to do these classes in person. So they're doing some experimenting with doing classes outside with social distancing, and then a few inside with social distancing. Clearly, if we do it outside, we have a lot more flexibility with that because we have a lot more space. They've been doing it at the beach, at Lake Avalon, and so forth. So I'm very pleased that that they're getting creative in keeping our community fit and active.
Yes, yes. Those classes are amazing. I really should partake in them more than I do.
I
I
probably
watch
should
them.
too.
I watch them.
You watch them or do you participate?
No, no, I said I watch them. They look great. Anyway, all right. So I think we just recently had a very successful Cooper's Community Charity Golf Tournament, the APT. Wow. Tell us about that.
Well, first of all, I want to start with the volunteers and the foundation and Charlie Teal and Tom Pyatt and their whole army of, Ruth Hatcher in charge of the volunteers. They did an absolutely fantastic job.
Katie Hinkle, I think, right?
And Katie Hinkle did a fantastic job. I'm sure I'm leaving way too many names out, but I don't want to sound like an Oscar acceptance speech. But they've done a fantastic job, and they've had to adjust on the fly because of COVID and everything. There was times that we didn't know that if the tournament was going to take place, whether, and then at the last minute we found out that they wanted to bring the WAPT, the women's APT out, which was a fantastic addition. So, following the guidelines of the state, once again, trying to be, responsible and being good corporate citizens, following the guidelines, we had a great event. So the men had 144 players, the ladies had 66. I think approximately 60 players were hosted at different homes and so forth. Allison and we hosted 2 young ladies that both made the cut. They had a good week of golf, so that was really impressive. The winner, ironically, on the ladies' side was Maria Spassi, and she's an Arkansas grad, and this is her first professional win.
Wow!
And, she plays on the LPGA, and she's definitely an up and coming star. And for her to have her first win here at the Bella Vista Country Club is really kind of special.
It sure is. Absolutely. Well, and the event that you had, the silent auction that we had at Lake Point, was also a very successful thing to start the whole thing off. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Just seeing everybody there. And a lot of those silent auction items went before Monday. So we had a good turnout for raising funds for the charities.
Well, and that's what it's all about. This is for the charities. Before this last weekend's event, in previous years combined, they've raised $85,000 for Bella Vista charities. So charities that are right here in our community, $85,000 over the years. That's fantastic, and I'm sure they raised a considerable amount again this year. I don't know what the final total is, but in spite of all the challenges, it's been fantastic.
Absolutely. Well, Tom, is there anything else you'd like to say before we go to our next guest? Or
well, you have a great 4th of July.
I will. I'll be at Lake Point, of course.
Fantastic.
Yes.
We're sold out. We limited it to 150 so that we would be in compliance with the directives, and we'll make sure that everybody is social distancing and making wise choices. Yeah, it should be a fantastic event, and the city puts on a great show.
Absolutely, and it's so beautiful just being out there on the lawn, watching the fireworks, seeing all the boats come in, and people enjoying themselves. And we can do social distancing because we're outside. Yeah,
and we're using the whole facility. That way we can spread out everybody all over the place, and that way they're not sitting on top of each other. Exactly. It should be a fantastic event. A little bit different. I think in the past we've had 300 people or more. I don't know. I think one year we had 350 people. You know, it'll be smaller, a little bit more intimate, but responsible.
Okay. Well, listen, it's always good to talk to you, and I look forward to our next time, wherever that is. And so, thanks.
And hopefully one day we can get back to normal and do this sitting next to each other.
Wouldn't that be something? I'm looking forward to that. I really am.
All right. We'll see you.
Okay. Hey, Bella Vista, let's take a break, and we'll be right back with our next guest. Hey, welcome back, Bella Vista. My next guest today, I'm really excited to talk to because Wendy Barnes is the Assistant Golf Course Superintendent at Berksdale. And if you'll remember, a few years back now, I believe, when part of Berksdale was kind of made more of a park or a nature center, Wendy did all that, right? Wendy, good morning. How are you?
I am loving the weather right now.
Oh, listen, I'm loving where you're broadcasting from because look at all that beautiful nature. Yeah. Let's refresh everybody's memory because not everybody knows what we're talking about. Could you give us a little Cliff Notes or Wendy Notes on how you started, and then we'll talk about where you are and what has been accomplished.
I first heard about the Audubon International Cooperative Sanctuary Program for Golf through my education on the Golf Course Superintendents Association. I mentioned it, and Reed Hawley, the superintendent, it's a lot of extra work and maybe we weren't ready to go there, but a couple years later, Keith Imes came on as the golf course maintenance chief, and he suggested that we go ahead and pursue it. So that was 2015. I got all the paperwork and just started the process for gaining that certification at the end of 2015. Spring of 2016 is when we had the most devastating flood that put the 18-hole version of Berksdale into question. Through 2016, I mostly collected data to define what Berksdale is and has in terms of habitat and resources, and identified what work we needed to do to meet the standards of Audubon International. I submitted that at the end of 2016, and then early 2017, we did receive the certifications to go ahead and implement our environmental plan, again, to meet all the standards of Audubon International.
Okay, I mean, it's a wonderful, and you had a lot of help from the community. I remember you asking for volunteers or input from other folks too when you did data collection.
Here, there are 6 categories to meet the criteria for Audubon International. The first category that we met was the wildlife habitat protection. Then we went on to meet their water conservation and water quality management. The last couple that we had to meet were outreach and education and chemical use reduction and safety. Just a note on the chemical use, we were already there, but the process of collecting all the data was very time consuming. The outreach and education I put off till last because I'm not comfortable speaking.
Funniest thing.
But as we progressed with the certification process, I really gained a lot of confidence and slowly started to network with members of the community. And then last year we put on the Audubon supported BioBlitz.
Yes.
June, and that's when the master naturalist came on. I want to give a big shout out to the Lakes Department for participating with that. The Bella Vista Birders Club and the Bella Vista Bluebird Society I really made a lot of connections and realized how much support there is in the community for what we're doing here on Berksdale through that. And it's been exponential every year. So
So how is the Audubon, I mean, I think you kind of said it, but let me ask it in a different way. How is the Audubon program beneficial or an asset to golf courses?
I brought my little fact sheet.
Ooh.
So let me just read off. We demonstrate leadership for environmentally responsible management practices. We show a strong commitment to long-term environmental stewardship. We provide green space for people and wildlife. We provide habitat for migratory bird populations. We conserve natural resources for future generations. We serve as demonstration site to educate golfers, the public, and golf course professionals about golf course management and the benefit to the environment. So it's just a natural to me. We were already practicing what we've been able to document in a standardized form for Audubon International. You know, when we submitted the chemical use reduction and safety, it's like we've cut our use in half, and not just because we cut the number of holes in half.
Okay.
I just love working for Reed Holly. He's always been very sensitive in using like least toxic chemicals, minimum amounts. You know, he initiated planting prairie grasses and wildflowers before we even began the Audubon certification process.
You know, as a master naturalist, I am a master naturalist. I am so proud of what you've done because it falls right in line with everything we're trying to do as well. And we really enjoy being part of anything you want to do.
I definitely appreciate the support. It's just amazing to me sometimes. Sometimes I ride around the course, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to do this, I need to do that. And sometimes I can just take a breath and look around, and there's so much beauty. And we have definitely increased the diversity on the course with not just flora, but fauna. You know, we've increased by multiple acres our natural areas, not just the Nomo that we brush hog a couple times a year, but encouraging the wildflowers and the native grasses. One of my favorite things that we've done is soften the edges around the ponds on the course, and the increase in frogs and turtles and dragonflies and shore nesting birds that I see, and just here
Well, I understand. I'm having a little trouble hearing you, but that's okay. We'll work with this. And kind of in closing, with this part of Berksdale being closed, do you see this program continuing? It sounds like you're in your element right now and you love it.
Absolutely. I've been in regular contact with Audubon International and telling them, okay, we're 18 holes, but 9 aren't in play. And now we're definitely 9 holes, and 9 holes that we still maintain. And they've said, you know, I still follow the same parameters. And even if we were to be fully declared not a golf course, we would still be meeting the Audubon International standards and be qualified to claim their status as an internationally recognized wildlife sanctuary.
Well, we can add that to our tree certification, our monarch certification. I mean, all these wonderful things about Bella Vista. I mean, don't we just live in one of the best places you can imagine?
it's a pleasure to work here. And, I spend more time here than I do at home, actually. So,
Well, Wendy, I have truly enjoyed talking to you today. I may give you a call later because I have an idea that will help you and me. Okay? So let's talk. Thanks again for being my guest. Okay, Bella Vista, I am so glad to tell you that we will join you again in about a month with another In the Know. Be safe.